Hey, hi everyone. So today let's talk around the Jira integration. What we have seen. Say for I have to find something, right? I want to fetch this information. I have this as my Salesforce system, and the other one is my Jira system, right? Where I have that information. And if I want to fetch from Jira into the Salesforce, right? So I can click and I can get that information. And we have seen like what all the different steps required for doing that. Now we'll quickly check how we will get the endpoint URL. First thing. Second thing, how we will ensure that if it is requiring a credential, what is the best practice, right, for that. So if you search for any integration, right, and it must have some documentations you need for Jira as well. There is a documentation for REST API. If you see here, I have seen a sample get issue request, and you can find okay your domain name and plus the rest of the URL, right, to get the issue. Yeah. This is what we are using as well in our code, so that we have seen the endpoint URL, right. This is your base URL, which is nothing but this one till this point, right. And then we have our REST API URL, and then the key of that issue, whatever record we want to access. Now here if you see, I have not written any username password, right. In general, since this is behind the username password, I should be providing username password somewhere here like this. If I show you the sample code, if you see here, I need to write a username password and then take the below value of username and password, and then using authorization header as a basic, I need to take the base 64 encode value of that header which I have prepared using username password. But the issue with this is like, suppose if your code is read by some other person, he will easily hack your credential, and it's at risk, right. So it's not recommended. So to avoid that, Salesforce has provided this name credential, right. So here there are two parts to it. One is name credential, other one is external credential, right. So name credential, in name credential what we have is, so we'll need to give some name, right, to whom, to which system we want to connect or communicate with using REST API. Then the base URL, right, that base URL, and then some settings enabling for call out, whether you want to generate some authorization header or not, right. That setting you need to do. That's pretty straightforward, right, to set up a name credential. Now the second part to it is credential. Now we know it is using basic authentication, and we are having username password. So you can always go through the documentation for Jira how to get the username password for that account. You can get a temporary or a trial account which you can use for your coding practice. So here if you see this Jira credential, right, so it is referring to this name credential. So for this name credential to connect, what is the username password? So this principal will do that job. If you see here, if I say I want to add a new, I need to put the parameter name, right, the sequence, and then I need to put whether it is a named principal or user principal. So if I say named principal, then it will ask me to enter the username password. So here I can put username, here I can put password, and this is stored encrypted, right. You, no one will have access to this. So this is how you can make it secure with the help of your name credential. So name credential is now very powerful. You understood the context. You don't want to use username password hard coded in your code like this. To avoid this, and also your endpoint URL, right. So if you look at this code where we need to put username password as well as say endpoint URL, full endpoint URL. Whereas if you see here, even if someone gets the code, he won't understand what is my endpoint URL, which Jira instance I am connecting, what is the username password that I am using. That's how it makes it secure. So this is very straightforward, right? With when it comes to username password or basic authentication, there are various complex flows, various OAuth flows, right? and nowadays it is always recommended to have a JWT jot flow. So there are so many things to explore, but this is just to make you comfortable with integration, that too the integration which is sitting behind the credential. You need a credential to access that API. Okay, so this is it for this session. I'll try to keep it simple. Go ahead, take the help of documentation of Jira or any other example, any other API, and try to do on your own, right? Next, we will try to see like how this code is working, and then in following sessions we'll try to see how we can have the code coverage, how we can maintain the logs, how and what details we need to take care if the request response is not success, what all things we need to take care, right? So keep watching this series, and I'll try to bring more and more interesting stuff around that, so that you will have a comfortable feeling while you're working on the integration. Thank you.